Hello, monarchs of the internet. I am going to finish up this dragon that I was working on last stream. So, um, let's just get started with that. So here we have basically the next step that I would normally do. I mean, you don't really have to go in order, I suppose. Um, but the two things that I kind of have left to do, or three, but I always save the third one for last, is doing the wings slash the crest, doing the um, head, and doing the scales. So as you can see, I did lay out the scale pattern that I am intending to use. So I guess I'll just pick one. Let's do the head. No, let's not do the head. I don't know, whatever. I guess we'll put on the scales because if I don't put on the scales, let's face it, I will probably bump them and mess all of them up. So let's do that. I'm just going to put this over here. And what I normally do in order to make the scales easier to put on is I'll actually flip them all upside down. So here, just give myself some room. And when you flip them all upside down, when you grab them with the ring, then they will be in the right position because you have to grab them from the back in order for them to lay flat. So I just found, I mean, there's other ways that you can do it. You can just hold the scale and put it in the correct way, or, you know, whatever you'd like, but I just find that this is easier. Do I have one extra? I think I'm not using that one. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you will need 20 scales, and this is the large dragon. I also do teeny tiny dragons, as well as the medium dragons. But the one that I'm making right now is the large dragon. And I apologize for the funky color changes, because I guess I should have set the white balance to not change at all, but it's okay. So in order to put on the scales, we're going to be using these black rings, and these rings are 18 gauge, 316, 3, I honestly can't remember now. Sorry, cannot remember. Let's see. Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, 18 gauge 316. Found it. So, if you take these 18 gauge rings, and we're going to need 40 of them open. So, just going to start doing that. And just in case there is somebody watching that hasn't actually done this before, when I say things like the 5/16, 16 gauge, so rings come, if you're doing this on your own, so rings come with two different size measurements. So there's the gauge, which is just how thick the wire is. And then there's the ID, which honestly I don't know what that stands for, but it's basically how it's the radius. It's a measurement of the radius of the middle of the ring. Not radius, sorry. Whatever's across the whole thing. Double the radius. Diameter. It's a measure of the diameter of the ring, the inside of the ring, because what they do is they have certain size rods, and then they will take whatever wire, whatever gauge wire, whether it's 16, 18, and by the way, the higher up the gauges go, the thinner the wire gets. So 20 gauge wire is fairly thin. And then, of course, like, for example, 10 gauge wire is super, super thick. So what they do is that they take the wire and then they wrap it around. Obviously, it would all be the same thickness, but they just wrap the wire around those coils, whatever the ID is, or the uh, diameter of whatever ring they're trying to make, and they take whatever wire and they wrap it around that. I believe. Hopefully, I'm not wrong, or I look rather silly. But so that is the two different kinds of measurements. So I use two 16 gauge types of rings for the medium and the large rings, and then one 18 gauge ring, which is this. So these are a little bit thinner than the other two rings that I use, as you can see. So see this one, this is a little thinner, this one is thicker, and then this is the large ring that I use. So as you can see, the gauge of these two rings are the same and the same thickness, but the circumference of the rings are different, which is what the different measurements mean. So the more you know. It's not copyrighted or anything, is it? I don't know. So after opening 40 of these, I'm still bumping those. After opening 40 of these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I like to line them up in rows. Wow, I got that right. I didn't even count the 10, and I just know I'm just a master. I've done this so many times. So all you do is, I like to line them in rows so I don't have to keep constantly recounting them. I mean, you probably don't need to count them really exactly, but because I'm going to need more open rings in a second, but I don't know. I just like doing each step, I guess, because otherwise then sometimes you have a bunch of rings just lying around that are open or closed or not open and closed, kind of like this random pile over here. So I try to keep that to a minimum, so I kind of try to count them as I'm going along, or line them up so I don't have to count them as I'm going along. I'm gonna have to sort through those because these are all mixed up. You can't see, but see, they're all mixed up. Alrighty, so let's see. What to talk about? What to talk about? There's this cute little guy. So, in case you didn't know, which you probably already know, because let's face it, if you're watching this video, you probably watched the first one. I mean, I'm guessing. Oh, hello, person in the stream. How are you today? Thank you for showing up. Oh, goodbye. Never mind. Oh, Dave is back. Hi, Dave. But anyways, this little guy is still for sale. I do not have the small dragons up on my Etsy yet, but if you did want to get a small dragon, just hit me up and I will totally make you a small dragon. Let's see. And this guy is still for sale, so he's up for grabs. I really do need to post all the random dragons that I have lying around up on my Etsy. Alrighty, so we've got what, like 25? A little over halfway there. This is kind of part of the process that is kind of the tedious part, I guess, because it's just kind of doing the same thing over and over, but I kind of like it because it's kind of relaxing, you know? You're just kind of opening rings and then you have slowly like a satisfying little rows of open slash closed rings, and it's kind of nice. All right, that's 30. So I could use programming. I feel like black is going to be best because the black is going to blend in with the body of the dragon. Because what we're going to do with these is we're going to use these rings and attach the scales along this band at the top here. So we're almost there. let's talk about, I'm tired from yesterday. I was not expecting this to take so long. I mean, I knew it'd take a tiny bit longer explaining, but maybe I'm just over or underestimating how long it really takes me to make a dragon. Because I mean, I was explaining some things which I feel like could add like maybe an hour or so. But after this, I mean, this is probably going to take me at least an hour, I'm guessing. Maybe not. Maybe I did really do the bulk of it yesterday and I just quit early. But I feel like this is going to take me at least another hour to do because I have to do the scales and the head and then the crest and then the um, scales as well. So, and the wings. The wings are the most awful part. The wings is what can add like 30 minutes to your time because it's so hard. If you were making one of these, honestly, I might recommend to just skip this one step for the wings if you don't mind them not being as rigid. The dragon might not stand up as well, but if you're planning on wearing it, it's probably fine. But yeah, you'll see. It will come. It will come. You'll understand the struggle unless I get lucky and the rings are actually the correct size to do this. So, but that is not my problem at the current moment. Right now, I'm just going to put on all these scales. So, I want this one. This is going to be the back scale because it's going to be black, so it's going to just mold into this black section, which is going to be perfect. And so how we're going to start is I just take one ring and then attach it to this. So this is what I meant when you had to come in from the back. That's why I lay them out like that. Oops, trying not to mess up my scales. So all you got to do is you take it and the one facing away from farther from you, the row farther from you, this is where you're going to put the scale. So remember how we did that edging? This is what you're attaching it to, is this edging. Okay? So you take the first ring of your edging and you're just going to attach it like that. Okay? And then you flip it over so that the scale is laying like this. And this is correctly how it's supposed to go. Because you put it the other way, then the scale is going to want to lay like this, which we don't want. We want it to lay like, yes, we don't want it to lay like this. I mean, you could, I guess. Yeah, it's a subtle thing, but I'm kind of a detail person. It might still work. Sometimes they end up being a little bit wonky if you try to attach them the other way. It kind of depends. Or maybe I just attached it wrong. I couldn't have done it wrong though. Maybe I did. See, I'm overthinking this as I'm trying to explain it to you guys. Or one guy. And okay, never mind. Scratch what I said before. It's not the row furthest from you. You need to attach it to the row closest to you. Got that? The row closest to you. I wonder if anybody's actually going to attempt this. Like, I'm genuinely curious if anyone is really going to try and make this dragon. Anyway, hold that thought. So then what you do is you lay your scale so it should kind of look like this, hanging off your dragon. And then you flip it over, right? And then you just go through the loop in the middle of your scale and then just go up and over the other side of the band or edging that we did previously. And now both of these rings should be laying the same way. See how they're both tipped downward? If you do it wrong, they will either be tipped upward, which perhaps could work, but the biggest problem comes when they're reversed, when they're both different, because then that can make the scale um, do wonky things. The other mistake you can make in this is if you accidentally attach it like from one down, so it's not the band straight across, and that'll make it a little crooked. And then that's really frustrating because if you do it once, if you make that mistake once, then you do it like down the whole row, and then you like look at your dragon and you're like, wait a second, all the scales are crooked except for the few at the top, and then you have to completely undo. You would have to completely undo the entire thing. I don't know this from experience, obviously. Just want to make sure you guys don't make that mistake. So again, and how I kind of handle this is I just kind of flip the scale to the front so that it's not in my way. And then just attach it to the second one, the second band that's poking up. And make sure to start attaching them to the side. See how like these are poking up on this side? But if you flip it over like this, they're not poking up, it's flat. See, holes. And now this is flat. So you want to do it on the side that's sticking up. So, alrighty, so now we're going to have this, and then again, you attach it to the second ring across, straight across. Here, I'm going to try to turn it a little. Here, and attach it to the second ring straight across. Go under and up, and then you just close this. Oops. All right. And as you can see, now we have scales that are starting to form. All right. So now you just do that 18 more times, and then you're good. And hello, person in the stream who's probably Dave popping back in. But if you're not Dave, you can feel free to say hello. All right, so again, just one more time. Start with the scale upside down. You go, wow, you cannot see that. Like this, scoop it up. Boop. Go to the one closest to you, your little edging that's poking out vertically, and just hook that on the edging. Flip those other scales that you just did out of the way. Close it, flip it over. Take your next ring from your beautiful row and just go down through the hole in the middle and then back up through the edging on the other side. Close it, and voila. And again, that's what it should kind of look like. And then each scale will cover. So always start from the top too, by the way, because if you start from the bottom, I mean, it might still work. I don't know. I think it would actually still work. Never mind. But I always start from the top, so. I mean, I guess you don't have to start from the top, but it feels right. Okie dokie. So I have so I have this pattern, so I had to buy for this particular pattern. If you wanted to do this pattern, you would have to buy 3 bags of 10 small scales. You'd have to buy 3 bags of 10 scales, I guess, any way you look at it. for one of these. So for the dragon, you need 3 sets of small scales, 2 sets of large scales, except you're only using 1. From the 1 pack, you'll see, because you need 11 scales, but they only sell them in packs of 10, unfortunately. Unless you get, like, a really fancy, like, they sell, like, gold scales and, like, silver scales, but, like, they sell those individually. So, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a problem if you wanted to make a gold scaled dragon, but it would probably be significantly more expensive. So, they've got silver, they've got several actually, and they've got other scale patterns too. Like, if you didn't want to go with the traditional kind of dragon scale that you see here, which is still really cool. Actually, this is they have like 2 patterns. I don't know if they're switching back and forth or if it's like their old stock, but um, they have 2 kind of patterns, but they're both cool. And but they have like butterfly scales. They have like crazy, yeah, I mean their scales actually rotate out so they don't have the same things all the time. They used to have these gear scales. I don't know if they're sold out with those. I was really tempted to get those and make like a steampunk dragon, but never did, and I think they're all out now. I probably have other things I need to be doing. Anyway, so alright, so this process, as you can tell, actually doesn't take too long. That's why I kind of like this part. I mean, we really did do the bulk of the work yesterday. The body and the tail are what takes the longest, barring that the wings behave, at least. So, I think I'm already, am I not quite halfway done? I'm also trying to concentrate on, like, coming up with things to say. So, I also think that's probably or, reducing my speed a little bit. But I guess with practice makes perfect, right? I mean, I spent a long time practicing making these dragons, and now I have to practice continuing to talk on a live stream where no one is talking. But see, by the time I actually figure out how to do it really well, there's going to be people talking to me, and I won't need to, like, do it anymore. I can just, like, read the comments and interact with people, which is what I really think is the cool thing to do on social media, as I mentioned before. So by the time I figure out how to go for a long time, then I'm just gonna have other things to say. Maybe not. Or maybe I'll just quit live streaming. But I thought this would be cool. I've been wanting to try live streaming like this for a little while now, so I thought this would be at least mildly amusing. Maybe mildly amusing to someone. Mildly amusing to at least me. I mean, I guess there's a saying that, you know, if one person loves your art or loves what you're doing, like loves your art, then that's enough. Even if that one person is you. So, I mean, if I'm having fun, then, you know, it's worth it. Well, thank you, Dave. I have one extra person. Thank you, Dave. I'm trying. I actually don't think I'm doing too bad. Like, I feel like there's huge silences because I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to say, but it's really only a couple seconds and then I figure something out anyways. I'm not actually that talkative of a person, though I do talk to myself, which might be helping me here. I don't at least think of myself as a talkative person. I don't even really think of myself as an extremely social person. But I have been told that I'm very good in social settings. And I'm good at getting people to like me. And I'm like, okay, I just try to be nice to people. Like, it's not really rocket science, but I guess there are people that, you know, they're trying to be nice. They don't really have any ill will or anything, but it just doesn't come across as you know, like some people just have different strengths, and that's fine. But I guess I didn't think of myself having that kind of strength because I think of myself as an introvert, which I am totally an introvert. But eh, I do like making friends with people though. Just not all the time. I just need some me time. You know, I feel like most introverts are like that. Like, we like people, just in small doses. Oh, hello, new person on the live. How are you doing today? What brings you here? I'm guessing that I probably know you either in person or from Instagram. So, hello again. If I don't know you, you can feel free to comment below. But I'm just finishing up making this dragon. I worked on it for like 3 hours yesterday. Oh, hi, Mr. Blandis. Yeah, you were there. So here's the progress so far. Ooh, I'm really liking how this is turning out. And then yeah. Dave the Poet, I'm a better listener than talker, and I love interacting on social media. I also feel like I'm a better listener than a talker. Oop, thank you for the like. I also think that I'm a better listener than a talker, but I feel like I heard somebody say that, or I read somewhere that um if you have a conversation with a person and you hardly say anything and just let them talk the whole time and listen to them, they will think that we had the most splendid conversation, you know? So I feel like that's almost kind of a strength too, because like even if you might not think of yourself as a very talkative person, that doesn't mean that you're a bad conversationalist or that you're a bad and if you like to talk a lot, that doesn't mean you're a bad conversationalist either. I mean, it can be a little awkward, especially like if you don't say anything. And especially if someone's like expecting you to say stuff or expecting a certain response from you. Um, but I think that, both listening and talking, I think are really great strengths. And knowing when to listen and knowing when to talk. I feel like that's even more important. Like, I feel like you kind of need to know how to talk and listen, but listening probably comes less naturally to some people. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't have any scientific studies or anything of that nature on the subject, but yeah, I'm not sure if there's a higher percentages of listeners or talkers. I mean, you would think that there's a higher percentage of talkers, but I don't know. I've had a lot of listeners, but I think it's most of the time it's more of a mix, you know? And thank you, Mr. Blandis. I also think that it's turning out really well. And yes, Dave, I too love interacting on social media. I think that that's just really fun. I don't know. And it's really cool to interact with people that, you might never meet in person or like have or to know like people see your posts but like you'll never know who they are but like you still might have impacted them or made them smile or so I like that. I think that that's really cool. So yeah, my foot is totally falling asleep. I might have to reposition here. But it looks like we are almost done with the scales. And then we can move on to the beautiful head of the dragon. Yeah, I'll probably do the head and then I'll do, or maybe I should try wing. Because sometimes I like to do the wings in two parts because, because it's, uh, because it's so frustrating. So to do two of them in a row sometimes can be extraordinarily frustrating. So sometimes I like to try and do one wing before and then kind of do one wing with the other. But anyways, I'll make that decision in a second. But Mr. Landis wants to know where I get the scales. So I get these scales from the Ring Lord, I believe. I'm probably going to misspeak, but a pack of 10 of these is somewhere between $3 and $4, I believe. Depending on if you get the shiny ones or I think maybe the shinier ones or the engraved ones might be more like $5 for 10. But I'm not 100% sure. They might be a little less than that. I don't think they're more than that, but I could be wrong. Um, so yeah, I just get them on the Ring Lord. So it's just theringlord.com. If you just type the Ring Lord into Google, it'll come up. Their website is confusing. Don't panic. It's not the best website. Um, they really need to update it, but I guess that they're still doing business, so they don't really care, but it's a pretty bad website. But if you go over to the side and you type in, not type in, but if you hit scale mail, but then they have the large scales and the small scales under the section. So these are the small scales, not the tiny scales, not the medium scales, the small scales. They have tiny scales, small scales, medium scales, and large scales. I am using the small scales and the large scales. And also they have, I think it's called like shield scales, not those. It's the, and you can get a bunch of different patterns too. So yeah, you just kind of have to look on there. You can also buy them in packs of 100, which is a pretty good deal. Except you don't get to pick exactly what it's in your pack, but like you generally get kind of a mix. Sometimes more neutral tones, but I mean, like, here's like a pack that I just got. See here, theringlord.com. They keep changing their packaging like a lot. The T's cut off, but so it gives you kind of some random. I feel like there's a lot of kind of orange and like copper and like neutral colors, but there's definitely some blues and purples and blacks and things. So I like to get, sometimes if I know I'm going to do a lot, oops, if I know I'm going to do a lot, then I'll get packs of 100. You can also get packs of 1500, which I have not gotten because I've not had a good excuse to make like a scale mail vest or something of that nature. Um, Scale mail is also really cool. Scale mail is much easier than this. Like if you want to make something out of the scales, like people will make gauntlets and things like that. There's lots of tutorials, and maybe I'll make one of my own one day. You can also use the scales in knitting, I believe, or crocheting. You can, yeah, you can basically, you can do the same. Instead of using rings, you're using the, instead of using rings, you're using the, like string or whatever to like crochet them all together. And it looks exactly the same from the front, but it can be a lot more comfortable and a lot less expensive to do it that way, which is what I really want to try. Because just getting a small amount of rings, like even for like a dragon, it isn't too ridiculously expensive, but stuff like that could take thousands and thousands of rings. Like this is a few hundred rings here, probably about few hundred, no more than, I don't think it's more than 500, maybe about 500, something along those lines. But when you're doing something like that, it takes thousands and thousands of rings. So, yeah, so I really want to try and like do the either knitting. I think I think most people knit them into stuff. People have also made like dice bags. I actually made some dice bags out of these for like D&D. Pretty cool. I have them over there if you really want to see. But I've done a couple dice bags out of the scales, and I do have videos of those up as well, of me making actually both of the dice bags I made videos about, and they're up on my channel. So yeah, if you're going to do some kind of like chainmail project, I would probably recommend getting at least this size because there's no reason to get a smaller size. And it takes such a long, long time. It really, really does. So, if you think this takes a long time, stuff like that is really, really long time. But anyways, now we're going to work on the head. So we're gonna need, ooh, what color should I do the head? Should I just do it black? Decisions, decisions, decisions. I could do it just, whoops, I could do it just black. Or I could do with other colors. I think I'm just gonna do it black. But I will give it maybe, I will give it either purple or blue eyes. We'll see. So for the head, we're gonna need some of these. And so we're gonna need 4 of those for one side and 4 of those for the other. So here we go. That's 8. So 8 in total. And that's going to be it. That's all the large rings we're going to need for this project, I believe. So then we need, I believe, 8 of these as well. So here we go. 8. And then we're going to need, some of these guys. Actually, we're going to need a lot of those guys. And we're going to need 4, but then we're going to need 8 more for the band. Oops. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make 2 flat. Oh, that's 8. All right. So we're going to make basically 2 flat panels, and then we're going to put them together. So these ones we're going to need to be open. So you're going to need 8, I believe, open for this. But we are going to need some more tiny rings open later when we're attaching the crest. So, and then the rest, all the rest of these, we're going to need to do closed. All right, so open. Oh, actually, no, I lied. We're going to need even more open rings because that's just for the banding. We also need like 8 for the middle. The head takes a lot of tiny rings. All right, sometimes I don't even count the open tiny rings because you need so many for this, and then so many for the head, and then also more for the wings, and so I just kind of do a whole bunch sometimes. Because you really do need a lot of open tiny rings for this stage of the project. All right then. Let's see. So tiny open rings. I think that oh, and another thing to do too is a little easier if you wanted. So this one is a large dragon. The medium dragon is made very similarly. So if it's your first dragon, you might want to consider making a medium one because it's almost the same, just a little smaller, and it doesn't have the crest. The crest can be really hard sometimes. So like this is a medium one. So he still looks, as you can see, it's a little bit smaller, but still really awesome, I feel like. And it does actually take significantly less time, and it also does take less rings. It's less expensive because you don't have to buy any large rings for this project. You only need the 2 sizes, so that does cut down, and you don't need you only need 6 large rings, so you can only, I mean, not large rings, only 6 large scales, so it does cut down on the cost of the project. And also, it just takes it does take less time to make. I know it only looks a little smaller, but it really does matter. um, because it really does have significantly less links in it. All right, so we've done all the open black that we need to for now. And we just need to do all these closed black. And the more accurately you close these, the better. It probably actually does take a little bit of a feel for it. I probably forget how much of a feel for this that I did have to kind of make, because you don't just close these rings. You can't just close them because then they won't be perfect. So you actually have to do it just a little bit beyond where the closure is so that it will snap back right into place. It's not as prominent on these ones because they're a little bit more flexible, but especially on the medium ones, which I'm about to do, like on these, you actually have to go. I think it's a little bit, because if you just do this, yeah, they totally don't close correctly. So there is a little bit of a feel for how far. What I'm talking about is see how they're not quite open and not quite closed. See that there? So you actually have to bend them a little farther than you think you need to, but ever so slightly, to get them to like perfectly line up. I was overthinking it, so that took me a second, but see now you can hardly see. So this does take a little, I mean, honestly, nobody's gonna notice if it's a little bit off. um, unless it's really off, like if you use one of these. Um, but again, it's all about the little tiny touches, you know? So here we go. All right. So I think, well, it's almost all of them closed. Now just have to do the final, these guys. Mhm. And if you are planning on doing this, I would also definitely recommend getting quality pliers. um, definitely get ones that are, I forget the exact term. I don't think it's low tension or something like that, but basically where it doesn't take a lot of force to close them and they're not super far apart. 'Cause like some pliers, their resting state is like right here. So you have to close them all the way and then they spring all the way back open. So these are actually fairly narrow and they have very low resistance. So because the other kind of pliers can be fine for certain things, but these ones, when you're doing it over and over and over and over and over, you definitely want to have good pliers. And you can also get pliers from the Ring Lord. I think that might even be where these came from, though I'm not 100% sure. These say the Beadsmith on them, so the Beadsmith must have made them at some point. All right, so now we get to do the fun part. We get to finally make, make the head. So we're going to take this, and what we're doing is we're going to do the same thing that we did to make the base of the body of the dragon. We're going to do the European 4-in-1. So we're going to take this is going to be our middle ring, and we're going to take 4 of the large rings, and sometimes these are a little large, so you kind of have to just stick them on there. And close that. Alright, so now we've got the first link, or the first section of our European 4-in-1. And now we're just going to add on to that. But we're going to add on to it with the medium rings. So we're going to take 2 of the medium rings, and add onto it just like we would if we were doing it with a regular European 4-in-1, just with all of these different sizes. So we have the small rings in the middle, and then we had 2 rows of the large rings, and now we're going to do 2 rows of the medium rings. And what that does is that kind of starts to taper it off. So we're going to do 2 more. And just go down through this ring and then up through the other ring. I'm not explaining this European 4-in-1 that well because I already did explain it in my previous video. And it's basically, this is really the same thing. It's just with, again, just different sizes of rings. So now we have this. So now we have 1 more row to do. So now we're just going to take, and we're going to take the 2 tiny rings and do the same thing. All right, so now we have the first panel of our head. Ta-da! So now we're going to do the exact same thing again. So now we just take our rings, and oh, this one did not get closed. Okay, so we're just going to take our rings. See, this is going to take like at least an hour, if not more, probably more like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we're just going to do this. Just put all those on there. And organize them so they're like a little buggy boo. Why are you doing this to me? There we go. Excuse me. All right. So then we just do the 2 medium rings. And this is also why it's important to have a soft surface, because it would be much harder to pick these up if it was a hard surface. And this really just makes the process more streamlined, because if you had to pick up every single ring, that would take forever. See, here, I'll show you. We put these on here. Watch this. It won't come. We can put it on here. Oh, never mind. That was because I didn't open this far enough. 1 second. Let me redo that demonstration. It still won't work because it won't grip under the ring. But if you do it here, whoop, so much easier. Now, I'm just gonna go down and up, and whew, my hand's starting to hurt, probably because from yesterday and today. I haven't done this in a little while, so that's probably why. But I'll persevere. Great. So now we have these 2 panels. And we can lay them out like this. Now, we can kind of see the head-like shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these panels together, but we're going to put them together in a specific way. And again, this is one of those very nitpicky detail things. So, see how this is facing up? These 2 ends are facing up. If we did it this way, then see, they would be under this ring right here. So we want this to be facing up. So we want the sides that are facing up to be smushed together like this. They're going to go exactly like this, smushed together. Because if they're smushed together the other way, then you have little dangly rings. And I don't like that. So I have them smushed together like this. And if you do them like opposite way, or like opposite ways, then it also, like, you get little, it doesn't look as perfect. So in order to get it to be Perfect. We have to smush them together, like with this side, the open sides together. So another way to do this too is see how all of these are going the same way. So what we're actually doing, it's hard to explain. There's two different ways you can think about it. But the first way you can think about it is we're adding another band. We're just connecting these European 4-in-1s together, because you can do a European 4-in-1 as wide and as long as you want. So this is just like single rows of European 4-in-1, but you can connect these together, and then you will have a long swath, which then you can fold over. Or how I usually get it to start, just to make sure I'm doing it the right way, is I'll lay them on top of one another in the way that I want them to be, and just smush them together with my fingers. Beep. And then it's so hard to explain, especially without really up close. So see how they're laid like that? So again, we are, and you want to make sure, especially these front little doodads, are laying correctly in the correct sandwich formation. And we're going to put our ring through the overlapping holes. So these front two rows, there's an overlapping hole. Same on the back side. The front two rows, the rings overlap. So we're going to put our ring through the two holes where the rings overlap. So we're going through 4 rings with 1 rings. Again, this is a European 4-in-1. So we're doing the 4 rings going through the one with the 1 ring. And if I undo this, you can see we've just created, if I can ever get this to be organized again, we've just created another link in the European 4-in-1. It's exactly the same as all the others. So I kind of like to smush them together. You could also kind of lay them out like this and do it that way. It's whatever your preference is, however is best for you to think about it. But again, we're just putting the small rings, and we're just putting it through all 4 and then closing it. And again, I will try to do a much closer up tutorial in case anyone's confused, but I just thought it would be fun to do it live. So, yeah. So we're in the home stretch, guys. We're really close. It's starting to look like a dragon. Almost all parts are there except the wings. So hopefully the wings won't take too long. Ooh. Which way to go? All right, there we go. So this can take a little bit of feeling out, because I mean, it's just a little kind of practice thing. You just kind of figure out how it's supposed to lay, etc., etc. But you can always too, if you're worried, just like most of the time I'll check it, like, to make sure that, yeah, see, it's going the correct way. So my legs are falling asleep again. I really should have set this up at the desk, but I was concerned that it wouldn't look the same as the other video, though. I don't know if it really matters if it looks the same as the other video, but in my head it matters. So I guess I do them the folding way, because that's the way that you have to do it on the other side, because obviously you can't open it and check it when the goal is to make it closed. Right. So now you have your thingy-ma-do, and again, we want to make sure that this side that's up is toward the inside of the dragon. So we're going to fold it like this. And look at how beautifully that's laying. See? And now we just do the other side, and we're going to knit it together in the same way that this side is knitted together. So we're just going to take another 4 of these small rings. And it doesn't really matter if you start from the front or the back. Just matters that all of the rings are lined up exactly how they're supposed to be. And they will come apart when you like are messing with them. But you just need to smush them back into place. And as long as the one that you're working on, as long as the 4 rings that you're going to connect are in the correct position, it doesn't matter how the other ones are all messed up. Right, and this will also compact the rings a little bit, so it might require a little bit of finagling. I know I'm probably making it look a little easier than it actually will be for most of you. Or maybe all of you will be amazing and you'll get it all on the first try. Or maybe you'll get your ring stuck. Ugh. It can also cause problems if your rings are either a little bit too open or not quite enough open. So sometimes you need to reevaluate. And for some things, I'll have my rings a little bit more open. And for some things, I'll have them a little bit more closed. Usually, I will have them about the same. Sometimes for this, I'll have them a little bit more open. For some parts of the wings, I'll have them a little bit more open. And for the eyeballs and sometimes attaching the crest, I'll have them a little bit more open. So, here you go. Dragon head. Yay! So, alright. Now, you have to attach the dragon head to the dragon body, but not quite yet. Because while you're attaching the dragon head to the dragon body, you need the crest, because I attached the head and the crest with the same 2 rings. So, here are the beautiful pattern scales. Aren't they pretty? You little... Why did you do this to me, Ringler? It's okay. No, this is not okay. Are you serious? Wow, Ringlord. Wow. Okay. To be honest, this never happened to me, but occasionally I will get weird things happening with the Ringlord. Almost every order. Usually it doesn't affect things, but I paid extra for the scales. That's really sad. Shoot, what am I gonna do? Because I was gonna use that one for the crest, but I don't have... Do I have another? Probably not, because those are expensive ones. Wow. Just gonna do me dirty like that. Okay. This is okay. Okay. Think. Problem solve. You can do this. So I can take one of these. That's not right. take one of these. So it looks like I'm using that one. Gonna take I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna have four for the rings. All right. So this is fine. That looks very nice. All right. They were supposed to give me 10 rings with scales on them. They only gave me 9 and one without scales on them. So, but I fixed it. So I changed my plan. That's okay. Little accidents happen all the time. And you just gotta change course. All right. So what are we gonna use? Well, because we can't use the blue, we're gonna use some of those. And then we're gonna use, I'm not gonna use those. I guess we're gonna use the black because that'll stand out nicely. Okay. All right. So what we need for this, the crest sometimes is harder than the wings. It just depends on how tight the rings are. Because sometimes I have to put in extra supporting rings, and sometimes that can be really hard. And then sometimes I don't need to put in extra supporting rings, and that can be easier. Or sometimes I don't have to put in extra supporting rings, and it's awfully tight and so hard to get in, which is why I'm not putting any extra supporting rings because it's already so tight. So we're gonna need what? 8 closed? I mean 4. 4 closed. And then 2 open, maybe, depending on how tight this all is. So now we're just gonna take these and we're gonna need 3 open of the small. I wonder if the ring lord will give me a refund if I show them this video and be like, excuse me, I only got 9. Oh, it's probably more trouble than it's worth. But the ring lord is really good, and this is the only place you can get these scales, and usually it is good quality. I mean, it's the best quality you can get, and it is definitely the cheapest, so I mean, get what you pay for, I suppose. I've ordered hundreds, though. I've ordered hundreds of these scale packs. And that has never, I mean, probably at least 100 of these scale packs. Maybe not 100. Maybe I'm overestimating. Anyways, this is what I'm doing. So I have the 2 closed rings on my 1 small open ring. And I'm putting it through here and holding it with my finger like this. Okay? Because then I'm going to take the other 2 closed rings that I made and I'm going to hook them on to here. So the end result is going to be, whoop! See, this is where rings go flying. Because the end result is going to be, the end result is simple enough. It's the small ring in the middle with two medium rings on either side. However you accomplish that, that's great. That's how I accomplish that. But it is a little finicky. So, here we go. So now I'm going to take, so this is going to be the middle ring. So now I'm going to take these, and you can put these either in front or behind, by the way, and that'll come into play later. But I'm going to put these behind. So you stick that behind in between the front and back medium ring. And then you take your other open small ring and you hook it on there, and then you hook it through the middle of that second scale, and you hook those two together, basically sandwiching that scale you just put on in between them, and then closing it off so that it cannot escape. So, what I'm going to do is then do the same thing with the other side. This is not punched in the middle. Okay. It's putting the same scale on the other side, except it's not punched in the middle, so I should have put it on the other side. It's fine. It's fine. All right. And then do the same thing and connect them together. And do try to make sure that you're getting these tiny rings as closed as possible, because if you don't, bad things can happen, especially in this next step. So I like to make sure that the ring closure for the middle is in the back, so it's hard to kind of see because it is very tiny, but the ring closure there is right in the middle. And see how this is all loosey-goosey? Can't have that. So, no. That was me randomly experimenting. Ignore that. So, what you do is you take your open medium ring, and I might need to open, I'm going to go ahead and open this a little more. Open it maybe a little farther than you normally would. Alright, and this is the part that will make you want to tear your head out and wonder if you should be wearing safety glasses. So you take this ring and you shove it through this teeny tiny gap. And usually I'll do this from the back for the first one. So teeny tiny gap. See? You can see my little finger through the gap. So that is the gap you need to shove this through. So you shove this through that gap. Oh, it doesn't seem so hard now, does it? Wrong. Because then what you need to do, after you shove it through that tiny gap, and then I do it through the back, by the way, so that the closure will be in the back. See? So after you do this, and you put it through the second ring, see? Then you have that open ring in the back. And then you close it, which can be a little difficult. And if you slip, it can be disastrous. I have cut myself. Rings have flown. Rings have been destroyed. You're probably saying, oh, that wasn't so hard. Well, I've got news for you. You have to do it to both sides. So that same hole, that same tiny hole that you just put that ring through, you have to put another ring through it. And you might be thinking, there's not enough space. That's because there's not. Most of the time, this ring, this poor ring, this poor teeny tiny ring that's in the middle here is gonna stretch out to just barely allow this second ring to pass through. And if that closure's not in the middle, then that's going to open wide enough that this ring will slip through and the whole thing will fall apart, and then you'll literally have to undo the whole thing and start over again. And of course, again, not speaking from experience, just want to make sure you don't make a mistake. So, this time, again, if you start in the back, then the closure will be in the back, which is the best thing. So it actually doesn't look like this is going to be. Wait, no. Ugh, see, the little ring moved. No, be in the middle. Okay, it's okay. And you have to get by all 3 rings. Okay, thankfully this one was not too tight. Okay, but I'm not going to celebrate just yet, because then what you have to do, because it's so tight, you can't get this one through. So you're going to have to connect it in the front. And see, you have to get it by that ring, and it doesn't want to go by that. Okay. And then you connect it together and hope nothing breaks. And kind of make sure that it's kind of correct, because okay, now the only problem is this closure is in the front and it's ugly. So what I like to do is to swivel it to the back. But if you're not careful as you're doing this little gap is enough for the scale to slip through, and then you have to literally start the whole thing over. So because there's no way, it's so tight that there's no possible way that you will ever get it back again if you mess it up. Okay, I done it. Closure in the back. I made a tiny little chip. Okay, it's better though. All right, so now you have a very not floppy at all crest. The reason, I'll explain this later. You know what? We're not thinking about the wings right now. Now we can attach the crest to the head and the body. So, how we do this, this is why I told you to pick the floppy side at the very beginning, if you remember, in the first video. Alright, so now because you have this little floppy bit, that'll help support the head. Alright, so now we're going to attach this ring not onto the floppy bit, not onto the first 2 rings here, but of the European foreign one, not the fringe, we're ignoring the fringe. Not the first 2 rings of the European one, but the second 2 rings of the European foreign one. So how I do it is I go down through this hook, through this loop, and hook this loop, and then I take the 2 back rings from the head, the 2 large ones. Please work for me. And finagle that in there. And then I take the crest and I attach it to the scale, not the rings, the scale, the outer scale, on the corresponding side, of course. Otherwise, it would be backwards. So now it's half attached, kind of. There might be another step. I'll show you what I mean. It's kind of hard with some of these because it really does depend on how everything lays together. Anyway, I'll talk more about that in a second. So then you do the exact same thing on the other side. And you're grabbing from the inside. So you're not grabbing the outside of the second ring. You're grabbing the inside on the inside of the fringe so that it's hidden. And then you attach to the 2 rings in the back of the head. And then you squish it. Struggle with it. Man, it's usually not this hard. Ah! And now I lost the ring, so I have to start over. Where'd the ring go? Okay. What am I missing here? Oh! So close. And sometimes I have to use the needle nose to kind of manipulate it exactly how I need it to be. Because I need to get it in this tiny, tiny spaces. Okay. But I like the flat nose ones for most things, but the needle nose ones are for the really, really tight spaces. And I don't know why I'm whispering. But it. Ooh. Come on. Yes. Woo! Okay. Boom! Head crest. Okay, but. Hey, that is tight. Okay, but. So now we can have the dragon stand up. But oh no, head crest is all floppy. Whatever shall we do? Now he looks like he's a sad dragon. We don't want a sad dragon. We want like a dragon full of prowess and majesty. So, what you do? There's different ways you can do this. And it does depend on exactly how the scales lay because, again, there's differences between thickness of scales. There's differences in between size of holes of scales, the placement of holes on the scales. There's slight differences between the gauge of the wire. All of these things can affect exactly how this goes down. But it looks like here, usually the easiest thing to do, sometimes you can't do this because it's too tight or it looks dumb because the rings are too tight. Anyways, it's a huge thing. But what I'm going to do with this one is so we're going to take the first middle tiny ring, we're going to attach another tiny ring to that, and then we're going to attach, sorry, we're going to do it the other way actually, and we're going to attach this middle ring if there's enough space. If there's not enough space, we're going to do something else. We're going to attach it to this middle ring, this blue middle ring on the crest. So, yeah. Now, he has a prowess fringe. I don't know. Maybe that's not how you put those words together. Anyways. So now we have this. So now it's actually starting to look like a dragon and not whatever it looked like before. So, now, one of the final steps. The wings. So I'm hoping these will be easier than that crest was. And you're going to see why in a second. So we're going to need, of course, more of these black beauties. We're going to need open ones and closed ones. We're going to need 6 closed and 4 open. 6 closed per wing. I don't know. I doubt any of you are really going to attempt this. Maybe I just don't have enough faith in you guys. If someone does make one, totally send it to me and tell me that I was helpful, because that would really make my day. Alright, so here we're going to need 6 closed and 2 open. Hopefully not 3 open. 4 these scales, and then of course we're going to need our blue. Open board. And these are the tiny ones, and these are the medium ones. So, alright. We're going to need several of these. Oh, guys. Alright. So now, here's the fun part. So now you can lay these scales however you want, but I usually put them all the same way. So, Dave says, that looks great. I wonder what a Titan boa would look like. A Titan boa? Like in Chainmail? I'm not sure. I feel like if it was a snake, you'd have to do like scales on both sides. You know, maybe not. I feel like it could be thicker. I guess you would just maybe continue to do scales down the spine. I've thought about doing a snake, but haven't done it yet. Like, but maybe if you do scales like down the spine, and then maybe you could switch to tiny scales. I bet using some tiny scales, or like maybe you could do tiny scales down the side. I don't know. I haven't tried to do a snake, but I do love snakes. Probably also because I love dragons. So, I do really want a pet boa. Anywho's. So, we're going to take these 2. So we're going to take 2 of the medium rings, and we're going to do the same sort of thing. So we're going to take 1 scale. We're going to put it through, same way we did the head. Attach these 2 to the other side. And close the closure. Now we have something, but now here's what we're going to do slightly differently from the crest. So we're going to take this, and how I usually like to do mine is I want this one that's toward the center to be up. So we're going to have to make 2 different kinds. We're going to have to make sure that they lay together. You'll see what I mean. But this one I'm putting on top. And then we're not going to add any more rings to this side. I'm just going to end that off by connecting those 2 rings together. Kind of got that one wonky. That's okay. Alright. So now what we're going to do is, so then this one's on the outside, and this one is under that one. And now we're going to put another ring under. Another scale under. But instead of just ending it off, we're going to add 2 more rings to this one, but only one at a time, because we need 1 ring on this side and 1 ring on the other side. So we're going to have our 1 ring, and we go through these two like we're ending it off, but we're not ending it off because we're adding another ring to this side and then closing it up. Boom. So now we've just added another ring and we still have 2 more rings that we can use to add another scale. And then we again put this one under so they're all laying the same way. Oh, beautiful, right? And we just end it off so that we have 4 scales instead of 3. So now, here's the part that hopefully won't make me pull my hair out. So, what we're going to do, oh no, it looks like it's not going to be tight enough. It's okay. We're just going to hope it's going to be tight enough. So, I'm going to take your open ring and we're going to do the same thing that we were doing. We're going to put this through the second ring, through that hole right there, and up and around through this second or last ring. I mean, scale. And close it in the back. And there we go. And now we're going to do the same thing with the other end. So we're going to put, again, this is the second scale from the other side. We're going to put this through. Okay, but we don't want that closure in the front, so we're just going to bring that around. It's not super tight, so I'm not super worried about it slipping through. Now, oh goodness. I think that's going to be okay, actually. Sometimes, if this isn't tight enough, then I have to put another ring. I have to squish a ring through this hole where there's already a ring and this hole where there's already a ring, which is a nightmare. But then one time I did all 3 and it was still super floppy. So that just goes to show you, it just depends. Also, the curvature of the scales can change it too. So many things change it. But it looks like that this is usually good enough doing 2. So it looks like it's okay. This is plenty of support to support the dragon standing up and look epic. So we have that. And now we're just going to repeat the whole process again. And Dave, I do see your comment about your tarantula. I didn't know you had a tarantula, or maybe I did know. I don't know. I forget. I don't think you mentioned that, or at least if you did, I didn't see it. That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, I really want a snake, but alas, my parents say I cannot have a snake until I leave the house, and of course, you can't have snakes or any pets in a college dorm. So, gonna have to wait a little while longer on that. But I will always go into the PetSmart and look at snakes. look at the ball pythons that they always have in there. Oh dear. But just to have to be patient. All right. So now registering it all over again. I'm almost there. Almost done with this dragon. It must have taken me so much longer than 6 hours. There's no way. I must have misremembered. Because there's no way I did this the first time in 6 hours. Maybe it was 16 hours. Goodness gracious. This one is taking forever. Maybe it's just because I'm explaining it. Maybe it's because I haven't done it in a while. Maybe it's because I don't really realize how long it is because I don't usually do it all in 2 2 sittings with a timer hovering over me. So, anyways, Dave says that he likes reticulated pythons. I was looking at boas. Whoops. I'm not exactly sure what a reticulated python looks like, to be honest. But I'm sure they also look epic. Oh, I just think snakes are cool. And dragons are cool. Which is, I probably just like sort of scaly things in that sort of shape. Not a big fan of alligators though. They don't speak to me. I do like sloths though. Sloths are probably my favorite animal right now. Not because I really agree with the sloth sentiment of like, they always put them on like, shirts being like, I'm so lazy or I just want to sleep. I don't really share that sentiment because I like, I think it's important to do things. I mean, not that, you can't take rest or whatever. Sometimes you definitely need some rest, but, just kind of the whole sentiment of just not doing anything just for the sake of not doing anything. But I just think that they're so, so cute. Like, I've seen sloth. I saw my obsession with sloths came rather recently because I had I think I did way too many than I needed. See, look, I'm distracted by talking. Anyways, I because I like, seen sloths, like in pictures and stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, it's an animal. But then I saw one at a zoo and I thought it was the cutest thing ever. And I sat there and I stared at it and it's like it was slowly like moving across the branch and I was like in love for some reason. So I don't know why. It's rather irrational, but I really love sloths now. So yeah, sloths and snakes. Probably but I really do love cats though too. So sloths, snakes, and cats. I guess probably cats are my like favorite fuzzy, cuddly animal. And like snakes would be like my favorite, like, I don't know, picture like cute animal. I don't know. And like, I don't know, sloth is also really, I don't know, but sloths are furry too. I don't know. I like all three. I like all three. Those are my favorite. Oh, you have a big book of sloth philosophy. Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear. So, yeah, I really want to find a cute shirt with a sloth on it, but that doesn't have like I'm lazy as a quote. um so anyway, here's what I was talking about with it laying a certain way. So I want these ones to be the top. Oops, to be at the top. So I want it to be on the dragon like this. As opposed to like this, and then it would be going the opposite direction. See? I want it to lay like this. So the top has the top scale. So I need to make sure that I make this one the opposite way. So I put this one under, not over like I did the other one, so that it will lay in the opposite direction. All right. Almost there. All right. And then that's also why you also have to make sure you, and also that you end it and continue it. Anyways. Okay. So now I'm going to go this way, and that one's going to be over. And then I'm also going to take, and then of course add more rings. Right, and then add the second ring after some finagling. Oh, come right. And whoop. Boom. All right. And then one more scale, again layered on top because it's going to go this way. Jennifer McCartney. The book's by Jennifer McCartney. Does it have sloth pictures in it? That's the question. If it has sloth pictures in it, I'm probably sold. But is it just called A Big Book of Sloth Philosophy? I think I might have actually seen something like that. I mean, I'm sure there's several different iterations of it. Some of them are more serious, some of them are more funny. Some of them are just like quotes. But I'm sure it's rather fun. All right, so now we have this, but it's all loosey-goosey. So, all right. Oof, my back. Okay. So now we're going to put this through the hole, second scale to the right / left. Put this through the other hole. Swivel it to the back. Excuse me. All right. One more. And squeeze in there for me. Please. Sometimes it can catch on the lip of the scales, so you have to kind of stretch it and squish the scale, like actually get it to go through. This one is way tighter than the other one for some reason. See, it's just weird. Like, I don't know. See, this one doesn't move at all. All right. So now, boom. We have our dragon. Oh, Dave the Poet says it has lots of soft pictures and it's very funny. I will have to remember that because that does sound amazing. All right. So close. I think we're not going to use these. We're going to use the black. See, this is nice, like having because different colors that you can pick from, because like the blue I wanted to stand out there, but with these ones I don't want it to stand out because these are just connectors. So I'm just going to use the black and make it blend in with the body. All right, so now we're going to need 4 of these small rings. All right, 4 of these small rings. Now, these are the 4 small rings that we're going to use to connect the wings to the dragon. So I'm going to flip the dragon over, and I'm going to count. So we're not connecting it to the edging. We're connecting it to the European 4 and 1 rings. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 rings down. I usually do 4 rings down, sometimes 5, but I think I've mostly been doing 4, depending on how I want to look. 1, 2, 3, 4 rings down, and 1, 2, 3, 4 rings down. We're going to take this and we're going to hook it on that 4th ring. And this does include this loosey-goosey ring. That's the first ring that you count, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a little tight, so bear with me. But you connect that through there, and then you take, you take whatever side is it? Nope, wrong one. And then you take this, and you connect. Apologies. The other one will probably be easier to see. And you just attach that ring to the scale, just like we did with the crest. You're attaching it to the scale, not any of the rings. The scale itself. Sometimes you kind of have to lay it down and angle it in place. So yeah, so then it should just look like that. That's all you're doing. You're just connecting this scale to that fourth ring. And then you just kind of look down and you figure out which ring you want it to fall on, which ring would be the best to connect it to. If you do it too tight, then it'll buckle. If you do it too loose, he won't stand up very well. So you just kind of like look at it, and kind of where it naturally lays is where you want. So like here is where it kind of naturally lays. So basically you want the farthest ring that you can without putting any pressure on the wing, without stretching the wing in any way. Oh! All right. So yeah, so now we have one wing, and then that's the top wing. That's the top scale. And that's exactly how I wanted it to lay. It's coming together. So now one more wing. And again, we're just gonna count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that should be the same as it is on the other side. And we're just gonna attach it like that. Right, and then you're gonna want to make sure that you attach the wing to the same corresponding ring on the opposite side of the dragon, because if you don't, then the wings might look a little wonky. So sometimes if you flip it over, it's easier to tell which ring is the correct one, but you can also usually kind of tell because, I mean, the wings are going to lay basically the same on both sides. So you can kind of tell, you know, where it's supposed to be. All right. Boom. And there you have it. But wait, there's still one more thing left to do. He doesn't have any eyeballs. So we're gonna make him some eyes. And sometimes this can also be really difficult. But it's okay, because it's gonna be fine. What do you think, Dave? Should I give him blue eyes or should I give him purple eyes? I have this purple. I have this blue, which is pretty close. And I have this blue. I have this purple. Probably blue because we have a lot of purple right here. So let's do blue. Alright, because this blue matches pretty darn close. It's not quite, it is pretty darn close. So, what you're going to need to do for the eyes, and you can also do eyes in different ways. Like sometimes, like you can even do like wire and like beads. Or like do a ring and then put a bead on a ring, depending maybe. Or some people don't do eyes, or some people will do other things for eyes. It just depends on what you want. Or some people won't put any eyes at all. You know? You do you. But I think that they look kind of cute with eyes. So. Yes, Dave. I also like the blue. I don't know how much lag there is between like sending messages and like what I'm saying. So it kind of just depends on where you want your eyeballs and how hard you're going to make it on yourself. I usually start like I'll do 2 rings, like the 2 top rings. I'll start under and then see where I can go. I need this to be a little wider. Yeah, you want this to be a little wide, a little wider than you might normally do it. So we're just gonna put it under that ring. Yeah, and we're just gonna put it kind of. I try to kind of nestle it, kind of do under some rings. Just depends how much you want them to be sticking out or what kind of look you like. Okay, that's one. And then you retrace the same places that you went with the first one, just do with the second one. Just because that's kind of like a thin eye. So, I mean, you could just do one if you wanted. I don't know if you could do any more. I don't know if you can retrace the same pattern with more than 2. I don't know. I use the same. These are not the same blue. I accidentally must have picked one from a different blue. And I'm deciding if I actually like it or not. I'm gonna just go with the same. Just gonna use a different. I have like 2 kinds of blues that are very, very close to each other, but are not quite the same. All right. So here we go. And now, of course, it's going to be really hard for me to get this. Right? Boom. Now he has one eyeball. All right. One more time. This is why you need to have them a little bit more open than you would normally have it. Oh, hello. I don't know who else is in the stream, but welcome, welcome. I'm literally just finishing this dragon. I'm just giving him his last little eyeball, and then I'll show him to you guys fully. All right, so just put that under the top 2 and under one bottom. Just like I showed you before. And then we're just going to repeat the same step just with the second one. And also, I do like to turn the enclosures toward toward the inside, because sorry, I'm trying to concentrate just for a second, and I promise I'll show you the dragon. All right, here we go. All right, turn all the little enclosures, which you can barely see, but still, toward the center, and voila. You have a wonderful dragon. Whoops, excuse me. You have a wonderful dragon, and I can show you something really cool you can do with this. If I can release myself from my prison that I created for myself. All right, so what you can do is take a rubber band like so, and if you put this under the bottom ring Or I mean, you could put it, you can slip it through whatever ring actually is most easiest for you. I like to do the middle sometimes. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I am very happy with how this one turned out. But if you take that, you can put this around your finger, like so. And it creates a little invisible band. And then it's hard to clasp with one hand and no front, but it basically ends up being like this. And you use the clasp in the tail to clasp it. And you can do it as tight or as loose as you want to. This is a little loose because I'm trying to do it quickly, but you can do it a little tighter. But yeah, basically, that's it. I'm very happy with this one, so definitely going to be doing some pictures. Hello, whoever else is in the stream. I'm just finishing up, and I just made this beautiful guy for a friend. I'm not a friend, a client. Oh, I don't know them, but so yeah, that's pretty much it. You can also wear it in other ways that you get a chain to go with it, just like if you do like these. Though the medium-sized ones are a little better to wear, honestly, because at least like if you want to wear them around your neck or something, these ones work great for around your hand. But these ones can be better for like if you want to make it into a necklace or something. So anyways, I'm going to go ship this guy out, but thank you so much for watching and tuning into the stream. So if no one has any questions or comments or anything, I think we're pretty much done. So yeah, my commissions on my Etsy shop might halt for just a little while because I am going to do an internship in Korea. Oh, excuse me. So I am going to put my shop on vacation for a little while. But if you do want to message me, I would be happy to make you something or try something new. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.